Mario Bava made The Whip and the Body. One of the most wonderful things about this film is that it represents a small body of 5 films that Christopher Lee made when he went to Italy between 1962 and 1965. He also appeared in another Mario Bava film called Hercules in the Haunted World, which was another magnificent neo-techno, multicoloured feat of Gothic wonder. He appeared also in an adaptation of J. Sheridan Le Fanu's Camilla called La Cripta e l'Incubo, and he was also in Michael Reeves's first ever directorial debut, which was Castle of the Living Dead, also Donald Sutherland's first film. And we also see him in this magnificent, nightmarish fairy tale of infantile, repressed, sadomasochistic wonder. The Whip and the Body continues Mario Bava's obsession with beautiful, angular-faced women, except for in this film we get them in garish colour in a way that would precede Dario Argento's Suspiria and that picks up on the fairy tale imagery and technicolor of the early Disney films, in that it is like a sexual fairy tale for adults. A very, very cruel Christopher Lee comes back from an unknown area, and his cruelty precedes him, a whole family in absolute terror, because his cruelty and his love has actually resulted in suicide, in suffering, and in a terrible family secret. But there is an even bigger secret in this film, and that is the secret of what is going on. Mario Bava gives us in this film a non-narrative or a phantasmatic narrative, because everything that we see is not as it seems. And of course this is true of many horror films, except for this one is an erotic fantasy that is identifiably in the head of a sadomasochistic woman. Dalia Lavi plays Novenka, yet another phantasmatically Slavic woman in Mario Bava's little village in his head, where he populates all of the decrepit families and falling down castles with incestuous little nasty stories. And what we get is a particularly cruel Christopher Lee, not the animalistic cruelty that Christopher Lee shows in the Hammer horrors, but a very, very perverse kind of cruel Christopher Lee. And he is so perverse that even his body is framed in a way that is almost three-dimensional, to the point where Novenka calls him a green hairy spider as he comes at the camera. And the amount of direct camera work of Christopher Lee attacking us as the viewer and fulfilling our own sado-erotic fantasies is an absolute pinnacle of the way the cinematography in this movie seduces us. Like many of Mario Bava's films, ambiguity is something that punctuates the themes of this film. And it really raises some very peculiar, particular, and even problematic issues. Because of course, when we look at this film today, we think, much as I love Christopher Lee, I'm not so sure about the ethics of him beating the living hell out of a gorgeous woman whose clothes happen to fall off the minute that a whip comes near her. However, what we have to remember, and it's a very interesting thing to take note of, is that this is a woman's fantasy, and the revelation at the end of the film is her erotic violence towards him. He even says to her, "You always did love violence." And so actually the film is much more about a female erotic fantasy that positions us, the viewer, with a woman's gaze, which to this day is still contested in film theory.